Rami Bar-Niv. He is an amazing concert pianist, author, composer, and educator. While we wait for Rami to get back, I just wanted to say that he has written two fantastic books, one which I had a chance to start reading. It's Blood, Sweat, and Tears of a Concert Pianist. It's truly amazing, and I suggest every young pianist who's out there and who's studying in a conservatoire or everyone else interested in pianist's life and how it is to be a concert pianist to read it. It is very true and very honest. And then also Rami has written a fingering book that we're going to touch up on this podcast, which is also amazing and a big help for pianists to use and for anyone who enjoys and just studies piano. There's Rami. There we go.
Okay.
No. I say, good things come to those who wait. So you make an entrance like a concert pianist.
My God. I hope not. I hope that's not how I enter the stage. Blackout.
So welcome, Rami. It's so great to have you here. First of all, maybe you could tell us how.
Thank you.
How did your music career begin?
The career,
the playing of music. I think that's probably what brought you into music.
I started very young. I think most people, who perform professionally, you probably did too, probably at age 5, no?
Yeah, I think five, yeah. Yes, from Sunday
So
school.
I started very young, and I can't say that I was a wunderkind, prodigy, but I started performing a few years later. That means, age 10, 11, 12, and kept on performing in all kind of opportunities, and of course went to music school, to the Academy of Music in Tel Aviv.
Fantastic. So, but now you are an author, a composer, a concert pianist, noted concert pianist, and also an educator. You run several master classes. And first, maybe let's talk about your book, Blood, Sweat, and Tears of a Concert Pianist, which I had the privilege to get. If anyone's interested, I wasn't able to get a hard copy, but I got a copy on my Kindle. So if anyone would like one, it is on Kindle. Yeah, so I think that's my Kindle open. The light is still bright, but it is on Kindle, so you can get it from Amazon. So Rami, this book is quite amazing. I'm halfway through, and it starts with a prelude. What a fantastic way to start a book about a pianist. Okay, while we're going on there, I'm gonna try and see if I can show this book. Okay, there we go. Is that Blood, Sweat, and Tears? Okay, you can get that on Kindle, and also a paper copy. It's just with the current situation, I was not able to order a paper copy to arrive on time. So this goes really through Rami's life as not only as a concert pianist, but as a student, and also a little bit as a child, and talks about his family. Yes, I can read. Somebody asked, could I read something from the book? I can. There's a chapter in the start where Rami is going to study in New York. And this, for me, obviously, as a young pianist, was absolutely fascinating. So Rami says, one day, Rubinstein came to the school at noontime and just played for us. The piece I remember was Chopin Ballad No. 1 in G minor. New York City was a paradise for musicians and music lovers. I went to concerts at Carnegie Hall practically every day. So that's for the comment. Read a little bit about from the book. Oh!
I'm back.
Great. We watched your Chopin Nocturne, and we already moved on to Polonaise. And I read a little quote from your book when Rubinstein came to your school in America.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
12 in the afternoon. That's when he woke up and came down to play for us.
That's
12 moon.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I just briefly introduced your book and I showed where it is on Kindle. And so maybe a little bit, you started as a prelude, and the family and the events happening in the world, they really shape how your career is going and how everything happens. But how did you first came about writing this book?
About writing the book?
Yes.
Okay. I say at the beginning, I think I've been thinking about it for many years. And I was always too afraid to start too big a job. And then one day I just started. I think it was 2 years ago, February. I just started writing, and that's it.
That's fantastic, and it very quite fast. It's amazingly in detail, and but
Yes, I mentioned it too. I relied on the agenda books that I kept from 1996 or so. So it was help. I had some help from my books.
well, and that's very good. But I'm sure the things that you were keeping were also your work. So reading the book, you are a workaholic. Like to get where you are and to all the things you've done and so many things you've done at the same time, it's remarkable.
Yes, yeah. If I don't work, I feel dead.
Because I was reading and I felt a little bit bad because I sometimes complain about my pupils and not having time to prepare. And then I was reading the book and you had 30 pupils and you played all these concerts and did all these other projects and you had a young family. And I was thinking, I should not complain.
That was that was a busy time, full of activities every minute of the day, 7 days a week.
Yes, I read so. But that was sort of the time when you work so much. The more and more opportunities come about and more concerts. And the one thing that I noted through the book is that there's always also huge challenges to overcome, but you don't seem to stop.
Yeah, it gets to be a problem sometimes when you don't know how to say no.
I don't think it's to not know how to say no. I think it's for me it was more like I could see your perseverance through things. I mean, there are different difficult times and even war, and it's just like you
Many
just
words.
emerge and keep going. Many wars, yes, not just one.
Yes, yes. That's what I do.
And the one thing I wanted to ask, and it would probably be very interesting for many that listen that are young pianists. You were at your time as a young pianist, graduated. You launched your own album, so you were an indie artist, but indie artists did not exist.
Exactly. Yes,
Could you tell us more about that?
I did a lot of things. I think first before they existed or
Or
before they
became
had
a thing?
names. Yeah, I decided I wanted to have my playing on a record, LP at that time, long play, and I went into a studio and recorded, and then found ways to produce the actual copies and the jackets for the LPs, for the records to go in, the sleeves, and so that's one thing I was first at producing. Uh, then over the years, I started all kind of things that later I see many others did too.
Now, reading the book, there are some things that when I studied at the conservatoire, my bachelor's degree, we were saying the times have changed. The people told us the times have changed. Before everything was given to you. Now you need to do everything yourself. And everyone was so, how myself? I have to do everything. And we were feeling like, oh, before it was easier for pianists to become a concert pianist. But reading your book, it's no, you went, you did, you made connections, you played everywhere.
Yes, it was never easy, and it, it it still is not easy. If you don't exercise your connections, you're forgotten. And so the only way was to keep going all over the world and playing and
Yes,
make sure make sure
and what?
you get invited. Make sure you get invited to all these
Yeah,
places.
yes, and I also wanted to touch. You also made a thing of home concerts, some sort of like I would say for me, I was thinking of Chopin and the salon concert. So you made series of home concerts,
Then,
even played on a digital piano. And this is 1970s.
yeah, well, these are different things. Digital piano, all my friends and people on my groups know that I'm not a great admirer of.
No, no, this
But
was a means to an end. You needed one to where there was no piano.
right, I went the digital piano. I think also I was one of the first to use. Uh, this was like in 1972. Because I went all over schools and they didn't have pianos, so I carried with me the piano. And the piano wasn't the problem. The problem was the huge amplifier that was heavy because it was on barbs at that time, very heavy. And I had to carry it like a few times a day in and out of the car. So that's about digital. I don't even know if that was a digital or a plain electrical piano. Now about house concerts, yes, like in Schubert's time, uh, I at least believe that I initiated them in Israel, uh, and then they spread a lot. But I think when I started in Israel, no one else did. And there was again in 1972, 3.
Yes, I mean that's fantastic to do just so many things. And you also have achieved several awards through your life. I will not count all, but you're. I'm just so lucky that you talk to us. You're so humble and down to earth and a normal person. But when I read your bio, I feel like, okay.
It's okay. I'm very, how shall I say, honored too, because I see that you also not only a pianist, a composer too, and
Not
and
compared to you.
and doing things like what you're doing now. Such initiative is very very important and very good for an artist to keep on doing things.
As you know, I'm learning from you. When hard times or circumstances change, you change with the circumstances.
Yeah, when when
Would
when the hard times, work harder.
exactly. Would you say that a family plays a big role in your musical career? Maybe your parents or the support of your wife as well and your children. Has that inspired you as well through the years and kept you going?
Uh, I don't know if it inspired me or I inspired them. It's just the way it was. I was born and grew up in a musical family, and then my kids did, and my grandkids did too. So it was just a thread that goes through the generations, the music.
That's fantastic. It's probably when one person has so much love and does so much. And there was one thing I wanted to ask. I know in your book you say that playing concerts, it was a job, and even when bad things happened, you had to go to the concert and you had to be there and play. Even when some of your friends said that maybe it was very emotional, you didn't recognize that. But is
Yes.
there a concert in your career that really stands out for you?
Oh, there are many. There are many. But for different reasons. Playing for 5,000 young people in someplace in Mexico is very different. So it's a memory. Or playing in another huge place with a memory. Or playing for a small crowd that a piano camp I used to teach at. And then they kind of gave me a treatment like a rock star. they they lit candles, turned off the light, and waved their hands with the candles up, and
Oh,
it
that
felt
must be a
like
wonderful feeling.
so. Yeah, there are other things. Yeah,
Is
I
there,
I um, I like being soloist with orchestra, and I love all those concerts. I love the rehearsals with orchestras, and
and you
then I
have
love the
recorded
concerts.
many of those concerts as well, is that right?
Yes, yes. Not so many because at the time there was not enough facilities or instruments to record. I wish more of my concerts were recorded. Uh, but some, and also some of them may be old recording, but some survived and survived very well, actually. Uh,
That's fantastic. And is that right? Your concert career as the concertos and playing with the orchestra, it starts really off when you go back from America to Israel and you apply to be a soloist for the orchestra there. And may I say the little fun story from the book about that part?
of course.
So this was very interesting. The Rami writes that he has 4 good concertos under his belt when he goes back to Israel, but obviously that is not competitive. So he submits a list of 20, of which 4 he knows and 16 he learns very quickly when they come about. And as you mentioned, it's always the ones that you don't know that come about, but then of course you learn them.
Almost always, and that's how I learned the concerto repertoire. I mean, to begin with, I learned afterwards. I learned more, but to
But
begin with, I gave a list of 20, and I had no choice but to learn what they chose.
crazy. And what would you say is the shortest time you had to learn a concerto?
I don't know. I told you at the beginning, I wasn't a prodigy, and I'm not a genius, so I work very hard to learn, and I have to be so sure of knowing the piece well to perform and to perform as soloist, which is more demanding because you can't go on a detour much when you're playing. You have to be there because the conductor has a score and the orchestra has the music in front of them, and you have to go alone. You're not alone with nobody else that you can just improvise a bit if you get lost,
Yes,
stuff like
or
this.
do something else. Are
So
there any?
I just had to learn very, very hard, had to make sure that I know the pieces inside out, uh, anytime, day or night. Any piano, there's some pianos that, and any condition, under any conditions.
Yes, that's absolutely amazing. I think, I am also one of those people that has to work very hard, and I get nervous on top of things. But I'm nowhere near your level. But it's just inspiring to hear that somebody doesn't come and say, oh, well, you know, I never practice. I'll just come and play.
Yes,
But I
I
don't
often
think it's true. I think every musician, my piano
I
teacher used to tell me about Richter, who used to wake up early at 5, practice, then go for a walk. His wife made him food, you know, so he practiced a lot as well.
yes, I often argue with people who say all kind of things like you don't need more than 3 hours a day of practice,
Well, maybe if you
and
play a one-page piece, then.
and many also quote famous people who say don't practice more than three, don't practice more than four, something like this, and famous people. But some, are not. How shall I say it? Maybe they think they don't practice a lot, but it's not possible when you have to go on a tour with let's say two recital programs and two or three concertos that are ready on a tour, because not everybody wants the same pieces, so you have to offer more. And and when the music itself takes like who knows how many hours, you can practice less hours than the length of the music.
Exactly. I totally agree. I see these comments sometimes as well. And then some of my friends who are not musicians, they say, "But why do you practice so much? You know, I have you
Well,
finished conservatoire? Is it not? Why do you have to?" And I try to explain. So if you have a piece that's, let's say, 40 pages long, in 3 hours, I maybe have looked at two, maybe one. Maybe I had a problem that I was working on, and then I went to listening, and then I did some other type of practice. And sometimes half a day is gone or a day is gone, and you think, what have I done?
yes, I think it's okay for people who are not in the business to ask this question because they don't understand the business. But people in the business say, "Oh, you shouldn't practice more than 3 hours a day." They, I don't think, ever went on a concert tour with, a couple of concertos and a couple of recital programs. So it's easy to say, but not easy to do. You
No,
need you need time to prepare things. You need practice time to prepare things, and that doesn't mean that you can't do a mental practice when there's no piano, or that you spend on tours. You spend a lot of time traveling. You spend a lot of time on airplanes. You spend a lot of time on trains or buses or cars, depending on what country and where you go. But so yes, you have to do also mental practice. But fingers have to move on the keys eventually, so that's important to do too.
and they have to move effortlessly. You need to know things in and out. So I agree.
Yes,
It's not easy. Also, I wanted to ask you. This is a little bit from your from the outlook of your biography. You were the first pianist from Israel to play in Egypt. Is that right?
it's right. And not only was I the first, I was probably the only one. Uh, the relationship with Egypt was never too warm. So it was not easy, the whole thing. Uh, but the foreign ministry in Israel sent me, and everything was fantastic, fantastic experience. But there was no warm relationship, and there was no continuation of that sort of thing. So, of course, I didn't go again. Other people never went. So it happened like a one time thing.
So that's remarkable. So you're the only pianist from
I,
Israel.
I think so. Yeah. Other
Fantastic.
people in other orchestras wanted to go, but it never happened.
And also talking about piano career, and you had that honor that many of us will never have because we just born too late. But you were live in Horowitz's concert in New York as well. Is that right? He's
I saw many of the greats of past generations. Soon enough, I'm going to be on past generation too.
No. So,
I saw Horowitz in Carnegie Hall beside him. I saw Rubinstein in Carnegie Hall and in Israel and at Manes School of Music. I saw Brailovsky. I saw Gina Bachauer. I saw many. Richter. I saw forget Curzon, all those great names from those years. I saw them, and
that's fantastic.
around, of course.
Would you say that sometimes if you would go to a concert, especially when you were studying still, do you get inspired or look at, because a lot of these pianists, they all play very differently. They were all great at the time, but they have very different styles. Is there somebody you go to a concert and does it feel like a new world sometimes? I don't know. It has been for me once like this, and it wasn't actually a piano concert. It was a violin performance that, I don't know, changed and inspired my mind very much.
Yeah, you're asking if those concerts inspired me. Maybe, perhaps, yes. I was inspired. That's why I went to those concerts. But it was part of the whole musical life. Um, I forgot to mention one name. When we were at the Academy of Music in Tel Aviv, we heard Serkin, Rudolf Serkin. That's the father of Peter, who just sadly passed away recently. So we went to hear Serkin playing Beethoven sonatas, and so you think we'd be inspired, but the joke was that we're quitting, you know. Why bother?
You see him and you go like, why bother? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So when you hear some of these great ones, you either run to the piano and start practicing, or run away from the piano.
No, and I think many people can feel this point. Do you ever had a point in your life where you felt a little bit like, you know, am I doing this right or should I be doing this?
What do you mean by am I doing it right? Is this
Piano, I mean, not a
am
particular
I,
piece, but did you ever had this kind of, sometimes people have a moment in life where they question their choice of profession.
I don't know if I ever thought I should have been doing something else instead. But all along, I wanted to do a million other things, all kind of businesses I wanted to start and do on the side along. Or also wanted to be employed by someone. You know, I write about all this. I envy other people who get their salary, and pension funds and stuff like that. That I never had.
Yes, I think that's very one. It's hard for a musician. You have to create your own opportunities, which you did in your career, and and then you have to follow them up, and you always have to create them. It's not like you create one and it's one the next,
Yes.
the next. But in the same time, it's quite exciting to be a musician. You're like making a new business all the
It's
time.
yes, it's very exciting, but the audience only see the glamour, and what the audience don't see is the rest of the hard work and everything else that one has to do in order to be able to walk on that stage and perform, decently.
Yes, that's true. So I think anyone who wants to know more, I highly recommend to read Rami's book, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's a great autobiography, very interesting, quite gripping, and maybe prepare some tissues. I found it also to be very emotional.
Oh, okay.
Well, for me, maybe because reading, and you also have written a book for fingering. This is before the tours book. How did
Yes,
you recognize the need for that?
piano fingering fascinated me all these years, and I saw that people were not paying enough attention to it. I mean, they would talk, but there was nothing really to go uh, back to go look for. There's something to rely on, and I thought there is so much information that I find that people don't know or know only part of. And there was no one place that collected or explained the whole thing. And again, it took years for me to think. And I decided, okay, I'll do it one day. And I started collecting my own material. And then I started writing and started thinking, how should I organize the book? From easy to difficult, from all kind of different ways, by subjects or by uh, advanced or beginner playing. And I finally arrived at something, and I did it. So it's a piano fingering book that takes a beginner from the very beginning and goes up to the most advanced and most difficult uh, uh, playing. And there are all kind of suggestions and secrets that some people, most people don't know, and things. And I think I named the book. It kind of gives an idea. I mean, the secondary name, the second title after the art of piano fingering, and after that comes traditional, advanced, and innovative. So it's kind of goes through three stages and cover everything. Yeah, you wanted to know about piano fingering.
Would you say that this book would be highly recommended also for piano teachers, not only budding pianists?
But by all means, because there are things that they might want to teach the students, and yes, by all means, and I write it in the introduction. This is not instead of a teacher, but it is a help for a teacher and for students. It's and there's also I discuss lots of techniques in the book too, because you can't talk just about fingering and not talk about the techniques that go with it. And then, of course, what is it all for? Why fingering? Why technique? Because you want to have a musical result. So it all works together. You fingering actually decide or determine the musical result, or the opposite. You want a certain result, you use certain fingering, you use certain technique. It all works together, and I discuss all these things in the book.
That's fantastic. And is this book also available on Kindle, or this is just paper copy?
No, I I didn't make it available on Kindle, but since this current situation about the virus and the lockdown, uh, I decided to do my autobiography book on Kindle. When I managed, it wasn't easy, by the way. I produced everything by myself too. The whole entire book, everything, photos, the pages, paginating, anything to do, I do myself. Graphics, So in the piano fingering book, I I was against. I didn't want it to be on a digital form. I didn't want the new book either, but I gave in because of the situation. So following that, I also decided to make a digital version of the piano fingering book. It's hard to make it fit on Kindle because it's a big book, and the photos and explanations and the music examples. It's hard to fix all that on Kindle. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's hard. So I took the PDF file that is perfectly like the entire book, and I offered it. It is now available on Sheet Music Plus as a digital PDF. So it
Oh,
is
that's
available.
fantastic. So
Yeah.
I can also get that.
Everybody can.
Yes, I think everybody should probably also get that. You know, all we just need to know is
Yeah,
to listen to you play
the
and
piano thing, it's a very practical book for any piano player. And by the way, it's been published now in 5 languages: Russian, Chinese, German, and Hebrew, and English. English was the original. So, and I must say that it's been selling very, very nicely. It's a practical book, and people simply benefit from it.
it's amazing. And so you not only you wrote this book, so you're a concert pianist, you have a huge family, you do everything yourself, but also there are a few lucky people each year that can see you at the piano camp. You also do sort of a master classes at the camp. Is that right? Well, maybe not
It-
this year, but
It's well, we had to cancel the last camp a month ago in San Francisco. Uh, and I do it 3 times a year, so I don't know. But well, let's see when the next one will be. It was supposed to be end of June. I don't know if we'll make it or not. And yes, it's not just master classes. It's camp for adult players.
pianist.
Yes, I also introduce some other instruments and singing, but mainly it is a piano camp and also some chamber music, but piano camp mainly. And and people get private lessons. It's like a week long. They get every day 1 hour lesson, and then we have master classes in the evening, and they practice. So it's a busy
Very
day
intense.
for.
And you also have a concert? Do they also get to play a concert within these classes?
Yes, of course. Yes, we do a what they call in America a recital at the end of camp.
End of camp
Uh,
recital or end of year recital. That's fantastic. So many things. And
but
then,
yeah, sorry, the people get to play in a master class also almost every evening. So it's not like when the concert comes, it's something new or strange or surprise.
and may I ask, because this is adult pianist, and I've noticed that once we get older, we get a lot more nervous for some reason. I mean, for a reason myself, when I was oh, somebody says J.G. Hollingworth says, and there's composition 2 at the camp. And Annabelle Sue says, very awesome book. So, do you
Yeah,
also, yeah,
uh, it happens so that in the past few years, composer pianists started coming to my camp, and I helped them with playing their own pieces, and they're very appreciative of it. And so that's another angle. and the people get to hear that the compositions of those composers.
That's fantastic. And what I was going to ask before the comments is, do you think that adult pianists get more nervous than young pianists or kids? Do you have to work with them also regards nerves?
I don't know what to say, what to say here. Everyone, I can't generalize. Everyone has her own feeling about it. When you see others do the same thing, it calms you down. When you get to play every evening in a masterclass, you get used to it. And in my autobiography, there, like in the second half or third of the book, I start breaking off from the chronological years and giving thoughts, my own thoughts on various musical things. And one of the things I talk about is preparation for a concert, and how to be so well prepared that you're not afraid of anything. And then one of my mottos is be prepared 200%. So even for whatever reason you lose 100%, you still have left 100%. And I think my students get this feeling if they come with any fear, because I think a lot of the fear is put into people rather than comes from inside. But there are cases, of course, that it comes from the inside, and there are ways to deal with it, both by preparation and by other means. But not everybody is nervous, and when you get to play, often to people, to your friends, to your campers, and then when the recital comes, you do well.
It's really great. So preparation is the key, and also maybe relaxing a little bit. I think as you said, a lot of the fear is put into us. It's all the thinking about what somebody else might think or what somebody else might have said at one point. But I think once we play, we have to have a thick skin.
Yes, some people think what might others say, but some people don't care, and that's the way to go. Just care what you think.
It's probably the best also for interpretation.
I say a lot of things in my book, like my karate teacher taught me that I am the greatest opponent of myself. So if I compete with anyone, I compete with myself. So it's what I think, how well I did or how well I will do, and not this is the way to go, to think. What you think of what you're doing, and you are your own competition, and compete with yourself. Make yourself better than yourself. Got that from the karate teacher.
That is very wise words. And just quickly as well, so you do teach composition as well, and you compose yourself as well, which today, because we didn't know how this is going to work, on my piano needs separate microphones. I was going to play something of yours, but I wasn't sure how to connect it all together. So I will try, and I feel like a big weight to play one of your pieces this Friday. So I started these little mini playings online just to actually get over my nerves. And but
Great.
it's lockdown, nobody can judge you. You can sight read online, it's okay. I'm not looking to sight read your piece, however.
Think like that, you're your critic, that's it.
Yes. So, but you also compose, and what I want to say is it's really great music. I mean, I'm just working on the toccata, and that's I like that very, very much. It's very interesting. It has different moods, and it's very technically lovely as well. It has a lot of things.
It sits under the hand, doesn't it?
It does. This is what I wanted to say. It's like this, and okay, some people will not agree with me, but I have very large hands. Like Rachmaninoff writes very pianistically, sits in your hand. Tchaikovsky doesn't for me. Tchaikovsky, you always have to kind of go through things with your hands because it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And this also, it sits. You look at it and you can read it. It sits in your hands. You don't have to. So, but I'm sure you write a lot more, and your pieces have been performed around the world in different competitions. I see every now and then you're posting.
Yes, but that's you gotta keep, you gotta keep letting people know about your compositions. And this is you ask me for message for pianists or teachers or students. Here's a message for composers. Let the world know about your compositions.
Well, of course, if nobody plays them, then you got to let people know.
If you're a pianist, you first play them.
Yes, play your works, not others. I guess that's also the message. And so within composition, do you have any plans? Is there maybe a piano concerto from you that we can look forwards to?
I don't think so. I'm too lazy.
I think Rami, since I have spoken to you and met you through the time, talking online, I don't think you're lazy and reading through your book. I think you work a lot. It's just probably a huge undertaking.
It is, and it scares me. So why should I? I mean, I need to relax a little, please.
Yes, of course. No, it's perfectly viable to relax. I hope I didn't make any ideas in your head that tomorrow you think, but maybe if the camps are cancelled.
If I write something, it'll be a smaller piece.
I think the pieces are substantial enough. When was the first time you heard somebody else play your music, your compositions?
Interesting question. I think many years ago, okay, the toccata, that's funny. A student of my mother was learning the toccata. That was, I guess, in 1980 something.
And how was that? How did you feel when you first heard it by someone else being played?
Great. I mean, great. But I also wrote started in the 1970s. I wrote songs in Israel, popular songs, and popular artists sang them and performed them in festivals and on radio and on records. So I got to hear my compositions that way too. But the most exciting, I think, was to hear something played for orchestra, and that was just a few years ago when I started hearing some orchestral works performed in America, in Israel. Yeah, and then I wrote a song cycle, and many singers actually sang it. So whether I accompanied them or not.
And the song cycle is in which language?
It is originally in Hebrew. Two poems by a poet called Yaakov Barzilai, and I translated it into English also so it can be sung in English, and it was sung in English already many times, whether it's New Zealand or United States, and so it is in Hebrew and in English. And a lot of people, as a matter of fact, the song cycle that I wrote is to the poetry of Barzilai, who is remembering his father. He lost his father in the Holocaust when Barzilai was 11 years old. And today it's finished now because I'm down, but today was the Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel. So it's appropriate that I mentioned the song cycle. The name of the song cycle is "Longing for My Father," which is the words, the title of one of the songs of Barzilai. But when I wrote the piece and when it came out, first published, it was also a couple of years after I lost my father. So it all, became together, and I think it's one of my strongest compositions, the song cycle. Oh, and then I wrote. Originally, it was soprano and piano, but then I wrote it also for chamber orchestra. I mean, soprano and chamber orchestra, and that was performed too.
Oh, that's
So
amazing. I think yes, song cycles are such a great thing, and I just asked why it was in English because I know some amazing pianists that work with singers and some really great opera singers, sopranos. So I could maybe say, look,
yeah,
because this is kind of for the material. It's always nice to play someone new and someone is alive, and we can only play Schumann and Schubert so many times.
as a matter of fact, on YouTube, I have quite a few different singers doing the song cycle, and mostly with piano and one performance with orchestra of the whole song cycle. But many singers did it, and I have quite a few of them on YouTube. Uh,
That's amazing.
that's
So
it.
everyone can have a look. So if you're interested, it's only
Oh, I know
piano.
what. Sorry, I know what I want to say. The song cycle also I arranged. There was not much to arrange, but wrote it as 7 songs without words for any practically solo instrument with piano accompaniment. And I have performed it with cello and with flute and with clarinet. So it's the same music, but no words.
Yeah, but just the soloist. That it is quite remarkable. I mean, Rami, it's been such a pleasure. I mean, we have. I know if anyone was missed the start or we had a little problem in the start, never
Oh,
mind that. I had,
the start was
you
a
know,
nightmare for me.
but the funny thing is we tried 2 times. We
Yes,
prepared.
yes,
But unfortunately, with with internet, that's something that it is beyond our possibilities
exactly.
to secure.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like the piano. Also, if it breaks. Quickly before we leave, maybe you have a funny story of a piano breaking or going bad in a performance.
I I think every pianist has a funny story about a piano breaking. So my one of the stories that I say is that I had to kill a cockroach on the floor. It was near the pedal, and no, the pedal was another story. There was the cat that was sitting under the pedal, and I had to play a pure Mozart with no pedal. And the cat, I was waiting for a big sforzando so I can stamp my foot down on
So the
the
cat
ground.
moves.
No, that was the cockroach.
That's crazy. I think for me one said, do you know the pedal sort of metal that goes behind on the grand piano?
It's
whole
also,
thing.
yeah.
So in the middle of a Beethoven sonata that fell down.
Yeah. Yes.
It was very fun. I, finished the movement with my gown, went underneath the piano, screwed it back on.
Yes. Now,
Ah,
I think my best story is a concert in an old ruins of monastery or something where there was half a roof and half not, and there were lots of pigeons flying around, and they were pooping all over the place, including the piano and this. So after I realized that, I asked the management to do something about it. So they brought in for the concert the canopy from a hotel to protect me and the piano from the flying pigeons.
well, I think this is a wonderful, fun note to finish on. And for everybody, we will put the links on. You can see Rami's website link. There's just a link for the book went on for Sweat Tours and Concert Pianist. We also put on the Art of Fingering, piano book link on. And if you missed any part of the conversation, this is going to be available online. It will stay on this page. It will not disappear anywhere. So you can come back, you can listen, and don't worry, and share with your friends. And
Yeah,
Rami,
just a little note, if anybody was wondering why my screen says Andy Bar-Niv, I'm using my wife's computer or something.
yes.
So,
If anyone is wondering, Rami has not become Andy, but his wife is called Andy. Also, if you have read the book, you will know.
yes. Well, yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Ieva, for having
Thank
me.
you so much for coming, and I hope on Friday to play the toccata in my mini concert here online. And
I am looking forward to hearing you.
I will welcome your criticism after. I'll probably put my phone underneath my pillow and pretend I'm dead.
Great.
No, I'm sure I won't. I really appreciate you sending me the scores and the really great music. And it's fun to play. If anyone is looking for a fast, interesting rhythm, technical piece, this is the one. It's fun to play, sits in your hand, and it sounds good.
Thank
What
you.
else can I say?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we are so honored to have you here. And hope to see you again soon, maybe with more hands-on advice.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
I guess. Good night.